Every society aspires to development, a state where growth is visible and the needs of the people are met. It's the fundamental responsibility of government at all levels, whether it's at the federal, the state, or the local government, to identify and respond to the unique challenges of the communities within their borders. But in reality, not all communities receive the attention they deserve. Some, unfortunately, are left behind. And that's where our discussion today begins. We'll be looking at the work of a federal agency, the Border Communities Development Agency, and speaking with the Executive Secretary on the agency's mandate and other issues. Good day, sir, and thank you for having us in your office.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I would like us to know more about this unique, and I'll be very honest with you, I found this, when I was reading up on it, I found it very unique. So I'd like to know, what's the mandate of the Border Communities Development Agency?
Yes, the Border Communities Development Agency was established by the BCDA Act of 2010. There was a BCDA Act of 2006, but it was amended in the year 2010. So I would say BCDA has been on for 15 years now. And our core mandate is to see how we can fast-track infrastructural development in border communities in Nigeria, not just infrastructural development. We also need to develop them socio-economically. And then 3, the security of the border communities is very critical. So I'll say security, economy, and development in 3 words. That summarizes the mandates of the Border Communities Development Agency.
Okay, so, one of the things that came to my mind as I was reading up was these communities already exist in states. Yes. They are not autonomous. They're hands. So yes. Why did we feel the need? Why was there the need to set out to address them?
That's a very brilliant question.
Yeah.
Now, the border communities in Nigeria are those communities that share border with our neighboring countries.
Okay.
And you will agree with me that almost all of our neighboring countries are Francophone countries.
Oh, okay.
We have Niger, we have Benin Republic, we have Chad. We also have Cameroon. Now we have over 3,000 border communities that are spread across 21 states in this country and 105 local government areas. Now, the states are majorly states you can find in the Northeast, the Northwest, the North Central, the Southwest, and the South-South. So we're talking about land borders here, and we're also talking about maritime borders. And these borders span over 4,200 kilometers, and another very long mileage of maritime borders. And so what is very peculiar about these communities is that they are usually either underserved or unserved because they are found at the fringes of the country. Sometimes access to those communities is very difficult. Sometimes you find out that they are lagging behind in terms of development. One of the critical needs I have seen that is almost like a common denominator is the need for ordinary potable water, which is why they are exposed to all sorts of diseases. The transfer of pathogens from different countries, just like when we had the COVID-19 outbreak, it comes from one border communities from another country to another border community. Lassa fever, what can you say? Smuggling. begins from the border communities. Insecurity begins from the border communities. They are like the first line of defense in this country. They are the first set of people you meet when you are coming out into this country or when you are going out of this country. And so they are very, very important. And their loyalty is also very, very important to us as a country. How do you get the best of their loyalty? By providing the basic infrastructure. You know, we have governed and ungoverned spaces.
Yes.
We have official border posts. Mm-hmm. But we have more than 20 times the number of official border posts as illegal smuggling routes. And so that is why BCDA was established to ameliorate the plight of the core border community dwellers. Yes, they are found in local governments. Yes, they are found in states. But like I said before, they're either unserved and underserved. If you go to some of these border communities, you wonder if you are in this country. In some of them, you don't see the basic amenities. What if you walk just 1 or 2 kilometers to the neighboring community in the other country? You see all these basic amenities. So you find our people in some of these border communities going to depend on the neighboring community in the other country for basic amenities like water, like healthcare, like school. How will you feel if you go to a border community, for instance, like Samia, sharing border with Benin Republic in a community called Sagbena? How would you feel if you see our children going to depend on them for school, for education, and they come back singing their national anthem?
I know you resumed a little over a year ago. You resumed,
yes. 1 year, 5 months, exactly.
1 year, 5 months. What did you meet on ground? Because it appears this is like something we don't know about. What did you find when you
Yes, I met a BCDA that required stronger leadership. I met a BCDA that required stronger collaborations and stronger push to get the dividends of democracy to the grassroots, especially to the border communities. And that's exactly what we've been doing. We've been doing all necessary collaborations with different agencies of government, with the subnationals, to ensure that we fulfill our mandate.
Now, you know, as you were reeling out those figures, I think if I remember, over 100 local governments.
105.
105 local governments in about 21 states. I was just trying to understand the enormity of the work that falls under your mandate, and I'm wondering how does the agency work, or how do you meet that, considering I don't know what your own financial capacity is? How is that working for the agency?
Yes. Before now, one of the greatest challenge, faced by the agency was that of funding. Well, I can tell you, under the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we've been getting the support like never before. We're getting funding that surpasses what they've been getting for the past 10 years. The president is really supporting the agency, and I want to use this opportunity to thank him very much. And you will soon begin to feel the impact of the agency in all of these communities that I've mentioned, in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, in terms of provision of water, and in terms of provision of off-grid power solutions. Because sometimes it's very difficult for the national grid to get to some of these communities.
How do you go about your needs assessment? Because I imagine there are contending issues. How do you go about understanding what needs to be done first?
That is a good question. The first thing you do when you man an agency like this is to do a comprehensive needs assessment or to update existing needs assessments that may have been previously conducted. So when I mounted the saddle in March 2024, the first thing I did was to update the needs assessment that was previously done, and then we came up with a strategic action plan for the short term, the medium term, and the long term. And we presented same immediately to the chairman of the governing board of the agency, which is our vice president, for approval. And we are working according to the prescriptions of our strategic action plan. But he did ask a very cogent question. He said, how do we go about the needs analysis? To get it right, you need to do so in various stratas. First, we engage with the communities. We also try the best we can to also engage with their traditional rulers. Then note that they also have representatives at the House of Representatives and in the Senate.
It's interesting you are saying that, yes, because the way we painted the picture of abandonment, it did not look like they had representation.
They do. And so we also interface with their representatives.
Okay.
Now, the deputy governors of every state, or let me say border state, are in charge of their boundaries and their borders. And so we try as much as we can to also interface with the deputy governors. Sometimes we synergize with the Boundary Commission and we have meetings with the deputy governors and we discuss issues that have to do with boundaries and border communities.
Okay, so that way you also ensure that there are no,
duplication of projects. Yes, which is why interagency collaboration is very key for us. It's very important for us. We have had a very good meeting with the Minister for Education, the Minister for Power, and several other ministers, and even health. Why these meetings? To ensure that we collaborate with them and so that we don't have project duplications. And so that our vision aligns with their own vision. So that I don't go and locate a primary school project somewhere that they already have in their own budget for that year. And so that kind of collaboration exists. And in terms of power, we are collaborating with the Ministry of Power and also one of the agencies under it, which is the Rural Electrification Agency, to see how we can fast-track the provision of off-grid power solutions to most of these communities.
So if you were to, because I believe when you got on board, you would have tried to look back. I'm wondering, 15 years of the agency's existence, what would you say had been the problem that the agency may have been encountering that could have, because I believe there should be some level of impact in 15 years. What could be the issues that you are strategically looking at to overcome as you go?
I would say before now, the greatest challenges faced by the agency, from records that I have with me, was that of one, funding, and two, access, to most of all of these communities. But that is a thing of the past now. We've been able to overcome that challenge, and in no time you begin to see the impact of BCDA in border communities. I believe they are feeling it now, because we're not just looking at infrastructure development, we're also very concerned about, the survival of that border community dweller in one distant, and remote border community. So we're also looking at the socio-economic dynamics and trying to see how we can partner with the border states governors to also push investments into those areas, so as to create employment for our people. And, we juxtapose that with their economic potentials. For instance, about 2 weeks ago, we were in Jigawa State. We were warmly welcomed by the governor of Jigawa State. And the following day, we all drove down to the Megatari free zone. And Megatari is known for their livestock potentials. That's their main thing. Every kind of livestock. Whether you're talking about cattle, you're talking about camels, you're talking about donkeys. In fact, I saw them in their millions.
Wow.
And that's a core border community, bordering, I think, Aseri community in Niger. We drove down there. We drove around the free zone. We've been having communications with the Free Zone Authority. We've been having communications with the Jigawa state government. And what are we thinking of doing? We're thinking of bringing in investors from China to convert all of that into wealth. And we've reached an advanced stage where we've gotten a Chinese investor, Yangpu Corporation of China, to come and invest in Megatari, and what they are looking at will be a 200,000 ton capacity export of cattle from Nigeria to China, processed cattle. And Megatari is the hub for that because they have it. And we had the first meeting with the governor about 2 weeks ago with the Chinese people, and we believe that in the coming weeks we'll concretize that arrangement, and that will start. And imagine when that starts, imagine the thousands of jobs that is going to create for the other community dwellers around the Megatari axis. We intend in the future to replicate same in areas like Elila in Sokoto State, which also have this kind of potential, in areas like Gamborugala in Borno State, which also has this kind of potential, in areas like Samiya in Kebbi State, which also have this kind of potential, in areas like Itung in Ekom local government area, and Danare, which also have this kind of potentials in their own terms. For theirs, it's about agriculture and cocoa. Around their Ekom axis, they produce a lot of cocoa. So we'll see how we'll harness all those potentials and convert it to wealth for them. And then in areas like the Badagry and the Seme axis, we have all such vision. And so much collaborations will be done. Us is to fast track socio-economic development in all of those border communities so as to change their lives, to make their lives better, to make them have better living.
I would want to understand if you have any challenges with governmental or any of your collaborations. You're working with local governments, state governments, you're working with, do you encounter any?
We don't. When we move projects to states and to local governments, in fact, they welcome us very warmly. It's like you adding to what they have.
I did.
Or it's like you helping them solve a problem.
Sure.
So it's always very warmly welcome. Okay. It's always, in fact, there's a project we're going to commence very soon. It's a health center project in Kebbi State. It's in Kebbi State, in Jiga local government in Kebbi State. I was just informed by one of my directors yesterday that the governor gave us a very massive, parcel of land for the project. In fact, the parcel of land he has given to us will be big enough to even carry out future projects, that we may intend to do in that border communities. Those are the kind of corporations we are receiving in the border in the border states. We enjoy those kind of corporations from the state governors. We have zonal offices, and I can tell you Some state governors are already calling us to come and also set up, zonal offices in their states too. And so that is the kind of cooperation we are getting, at the level of the subnationals.
Do you have any interaction with private sector?
So we're discussing with the private sector, just like I told you that we want to bring investors from China too, to Megatari. Those are the kind of, private sector, public sector collaborations that we've been doing so far, and so far it has been yielding fruits.
Okay, now I'm interested in, for a lot of Nigerians, and maybe I should just speak for myself, a lot of these communities you're calling are places that some of us may never reach. Even where you get there, you may just drive through. And I think the ones that are in question now are not the ones close to the official crossings, or places where you cross the border. They'll be like the villages.
No, sometimes you just walk like less than 20 meters and you're in the other community.
And where we don't have clear markings.
No, there are clear markings.
Oh, really?
And it's properly securitized. There are clear markings and it's properly, I can assure you that our border posts are properly securitized. I mean the official ones.
Yes, the official ones. Yes. I'm now talking of the places that are not close to those. Like you said, the places that are more like
ungoverned spaces.
Ungoverned spaces.
Yes, for those, the security aspect is not what I want to discuss much, but I can assure you that we'll be meeting with the Minister of Interior, we'll be meeting with the Nigerian Army and all other agencies to see how we can strategize, to better boost, or optimize, security around the border communities,
I'm not even talking about the issue of the security now. I'm talking about the issue of some of these communities where some of us will never get to.
Yes.
They're like the official border you're talking about. People pass there, they drive by.
Yes.
There are other places that are off-site, that are deeper in the hinterland that people will not get to. And when you describe the feeling of neglect, the feeling of being out of it, is there a role you people also play to integrate them? So that I don't know. When you mention about somebody feeling closer to the other country to the point of singing their national anthem, it's almost like we've left them. Does your agency have any way of also beyond the infrastructure, beyond the economics, look at also the issue of how to help them understand that they are part of this side, not that side?
Yes, we do that.
Okay.
And the best way to get their love and attention and to talk sense into them is to show them love by providing them the basic amenities. They get very excited when they see government presence. It makes them feel, we are actually part of this country. Mm-hmm. That is why we are in a hurry to provide the basic, amenities for all of these communities. And we've started very well, and we're going to get there.
Okay, along those borders, the relationships with our other countries, are they also part of what we try to work at?
It's very cordial.
Okay.
The relationship is very cordial. Mm-hmm. In fact, what we intend to do by the end of this year or first quarter next year is to organize an international summit that will bring together the local governments in Nigeria around the border and the local governments in neighboring countries along the border, and also to see how we can also bring in maybe their presidents and their vice presidents too, to a summit that we plan to hold in the presidential villa. I think 9th to 10th of February next year. That summit will also bring in investors from far and near, international investors that will be interested to invest in some of these border areas and border states too. We're also looking at their potentials. We're not even forgetting the forest potentials and the carbon economy. We're trying to see how we can unlock that $2 trillion naira, forest carbon economic potentials too. So there's wealth everywhere. So those are things we are looking at. And so that program will also bring together all the governors of these 21 states. And of course, the vice president will be the special guest of honor, in that program. And then that program will also bring together all agencies of government that we are collaborating with. Of course, you should expect the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to be there. Especially if you expect the Office of the National Security Advisor to be there. You should expect the Immigration and Customs, which are our sister agencies, to be there. You should expect the Ministry of Interior to be there. You should expect the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Livestock to be there. You should expect the ECOWAS Permanent Mission to be there. And other related agencies, and then those local governments and these states. So it is going to be an opportunity where we would cross-pollinate ideas and look at all the problems that we are facing and come up with workable solutions.
I'd like us to pick up the conversation, but let me first ask, from your experience thus far, what would you say is the biggest challenge that our communities are facing? Would it be the issue of infrastructure or the issue of security?
I will say both.
Okay.
The issue of infrastructure, deficit is very, very, very critical.
Okay.
But a general issue will be that of infrastructure.
Okay.
Security issues we have in some of the border communities, but not all. For instance, some of my constructors were to commence their project in Babana community, which is a core border community in Niger State. They were unable to do so, but I've just been assured by the state government that they can come in now because there were some security issues around that area. It's a core border community. In fact, it's one of the areas we have in mind to explore the economic potentials, because they produce this share butter. A lot. And, it takes us 54 kilometers from Mina to get there. We're also seeing how we can partner with the Ministry of Works to see that road is done. Not just for the border community. Of course, that Immigration and Customs also have their presence there and they will also fly that route. So those are the kind of things we are doing.
This brings me to the question. A lot of these places, like you say, are far out and all that. How do you get contractors to agree to go to such places? And for those that have security issues, how do you guarantee?
Yeah, you see, when you prepare the bill of quantity, for a project, and then that access to such areas is a problem, you must factor in the transportation and logistics part of it into the rates for that bill of quantities. So that gives like an incentive to the contractor to say, okay, if I can take this risk to go here, then I'm not going to have problems. And then we also partner with the local governments and the state governments, to provide us security, for such projects and for such contractors. So far, they have been doing very, very well.
Okay, so I know security also, like you said, maybe not much, but for those places, how do you work with security agencies to help out?
Very cordially.
Okay.
Very cordially. There's never been a time we call on any of the security agencies for support that we don't have it. And if you look at the law establishing the Border Communities Development Agency, you find out that almost all the heads of security agencies are board members.
Oh.
Yes. So the law establishing the BCDA contemplates that and took care of that.
Okay, so you people have regular meetings where...
From time to time.
From time that is done. Okay, I would like to please take you up on the issue of your work with the community. How do you ensure ownership? You come in development-wise, how do you ensure that they take ownership of the work you do there so that there's sustainability?
Yes, that's a very brilliant question. If you do your needs assessment very well, it's just like you meet an old man in a village and he's very, very thirsty and you give him a bottle of water. He takes it to him so fast and it gobs it very fast because it needs it. And so having properly done needs assessment, when we take projects to these communities, they welcome them. They protect them as much as they can. In fact, only recently, I think that should be last week, we went to Taraba State and we went to Adamawa State to deliver hospital equipment for some of the existing, health centers that we had previously built. In fact, the kind of rousing welcome we had, the kind of reception we had, only just pointed to the fact that they are really in need of these things. In fact, in Adamawa, we had to go with the senator representing that area too, and it was very fantastic. So that is the kind of reception we get from these border communities, and they actually take ownership of these projects and also secure the projects as much as they can.
For places where you say you're building like hospital facilities, how does that work? Part of the problem we already have is that they're far out, they're flung out. Yes. In terms of staffing, in terms of ensuring sustainability, how does that work?
That is why we collaborate both at the national and at the subnational level.
Okay.
For healthcare, we collaborate with the ministries of health. If we build the infrastructure and we furnish and equip the infrastructure, we hand it over to the state government and the local government.
Okay.
So they take care of the area of staffing. They already have a structure. All they need to do is to post doctors and nurses to those places, and to provide them, with what they need, So that's what. So if it is education, once we're done, we hand over those schools to the state government and the local governments.
Because I'm now wondering, I'm like, with the length of time we've done, with a certain number of set spaces, how do we ensure we're not coming back to do the same things? That we've done this and that it continues to serve the purpose it should serve, and we don't need to come back there to do it.
That boils down to the previous questions you asked before. Two things. One, ownership. Two, quality.
Okay.
If you are going to build a road,
build it. And
you build it very well to the right specification, that road is going to stand the test of time. If you are going to do a building project, let's say a health center project or a school building, you ensure that is why your monitoring and control department has to be very effective and strong. And that is why, yes, we have the project development and implementation department here. We also have the monitoring and evaluation department here. But because we want to expand our horizon for project supervision, monitoring, and control, we're also partnering with professional institutes like the Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors to ensure, because they are spread across the states, to ensure that the quality of our projects are not compromised. So for every of our projects, I can assure you that quality is one of the things we look after. Three things that we don't joke with. We don't joke with the quality, we don't joke with the time of delivery, and we don't joke with cost management.
And for that one, you've tried as much as possible. Your contractors the contractors you employ, they keep to that.
I'm a project professional. What do you expect?
Well, I expect that they do the best they can. But how do you hold them to, for those that fail,
No, normally when you award a project, the first thing you do is to tell, that's after signing of agreement, you tell the contractors to provide you with an advance payment guarantee from a reputable bank. That way you are sure that the advance payment that you're going to be giving them, will be monitored, by the bank too. And as the project progresses and you raise your valuation certificates and interim payment certificates for them, and you give them further payments, you also ensure that your monitoring and evaluation units follow them up to ensure that the right quality, the desired quality is gotten. Now, at the end of the project, you subtract 5% of their total payment. It is called retention fees. What is the retention fee for? It is for you to make good damages where they are. Okay, within the defects liability period, to make good defects. If it is a road project, for instance, the defects liability period is 1 year. If it is a building project, depending on the magnitude of the building, the defects liability period is between 6 months and 1 year. For some road projects, the defects liability period could also be 2 years. So if within that 1 or 2 years, maybe during the first moiety or the second moiety, we observe a defect, we'll ask you to go and do it back. And you go back and do it knowing that we have 5% of your retention fees still with us. If you fail to do so after the issuance of the certificate of practical completion, before the issuance of the final certificate, if you fail to do so, then we can fall back on your 5% retention fees and make good those defects.
But your own testimony thus far is that you've not had to go so far, have you?
Sorry?
I say so far you've not had to. Your contractors are working.
No, it works. It's a professional practice. I've been doing this for over 20 years.
Like you said. Now, I want to ask you for those communities, because I think a lot of which I think you also mentioned, has to do with the issue of smuggling. It's something we also have to contend with. What economic ways are you looking at to turn some of the people at those points from smuggling to other means of livelihood?
Yes, to reduce smuggling, that is not actually our job.
Yeah.
But we see ourselves as an agency that should support, the customs and the immigration, to ensure that some of these vices are reduced. And one of the strategies we have, which we intend to discuss with the National Security Advisor, in fact, I have discussed with him before, I think during my first meeting with him, is to see how we can convert most of the youths in these border communities into what I call border communities intelligence corps. They are the first people that will meet with the insurgents and the smugglers.
True.
And they have the information. And so we'll be gaining two things. We are getting undiluted intelligence from the fringes of our country, and then we are empowering our people, the border communities. That's one of the strategies we have in mind to curb unemployment, to improve their socio-economic well-being, and also to keep those border community dwellers busy.
Okay. I would like to understand from you, you spent 1 year, 5 months. What would you say is your most memorable, which community would you say you've done a project that you feel you like and that has made an impact for you?
Wow, I will gladly tell you about this. I resumed, I think towards the end of March last year. And just 1 week after I resumed, we got a distress call from one of our border communities in Ogun State. There is Asa community, there is a Bunkefi, and other connected communities around that axis. In fact, they were dying in dozens from cholera outbreak. And so when you get such outcries, the first thing you do is to find out the root cause. We found out that they were drinking from ponds. They didn't have any source of potable water. And they even believed that it's not possible for them to ever have drinkable water. And so what did they do as a strategy? Before then, they used to go to neighboring communities in Benin Republic, sometimes 5, 6, 7 kilometers to fetch water to drink. I will never forget this. Okay? So imagine somebody, because of 20 liters of water, you're tracking 70 kilometers to and 7 kilometers fro. And most times on their way back, they're attacked. There was an incident like that. And when that happened, what did they do? They decided to excavate a pond. I believe that it's a soil that can retain water. And so during the rainy season, they collect as much water as they can collect, and they drink from it. And they can imagine the degree of contamination over time. And then they wait for the next. And so we said, look, do we have this in our budget? No. Do we have funds for this now? No. I said, we don't need to. We are not appointed to complain. We are appointed to create solutions to problems. I had to reach out to a few friends in the private sector. And within 2 weeks, we were able to raise some good amount of money. And we swung into action. You know, we were able to construct a solar-powered water project there. And I told my engineers, I said, look, if you don't get water, don't come back. I stayed there for about 2-3 weeks. You know, we're able to, at a depth of about 200 meters, we were able to strike very good, prolific aquifer. And we said, look, this is a rural community. The only sustainable way we can keep this project for them forever is to power it through solar energy. And so it's a solar-powered water project. As I speak to you till now, it's functioning. So we're using that as a model for all other border communities because they are off-grid. So every solution you're giving to them has to be off-grid power solutions. In the north, for instance, we have higher number of sun hours.
Yes.
So it will be senseless for me to do a project in the north and I don't solarize the project. And so both my schools, my health centers, my water projects are all green. They are all solar powered.
Now, I liked what you said. You said you received a distress call.
Yes.
How did they get across to you?
They could get across to you through several ways. One, their community leaders could write.
Okay, they
yes.
have, okay.
Community leaders could write. And you know, most times they do it in several ways. They'll write to you. At the same time, they'll send their representatives to reach out to you. And sometimes they reach out through the media. In this case, before I even received the letter from them, I even saw it in the media.
Okay, so, you know, this had actually, it ties me back to one thing I'd wondered. For some of these communities, a lot of times feedback is a problem for them. Yes, you've come forward as the agency trying to help them, but how do you people maintain so that if they need or there's an issue with whether a project has been completed, how do you get feedback or how do they get back to you?
Yes, we do. Like I said before, we have zonal offices.
Yes.
We have a zonal office in Katsina.
Okay.
We have a zonal office in Borno State. We have a zonal office in Lagos State. We also intend, we have one in Bayelsa. We have one in Port Harcourt. We also intend to have more. Now, aside having our zonal offices that reach out to them from time to time, we reach out to the traditional rulers from time to time. We reach out to the deputy governors from time to time. And it might surprise you to note that these 105 border local government areas are so organized that they won't have a chairman. So we communicate with them from time to time.
Across the country?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. They have a chairman and we communicate with them. Yes.
That's a lovely picture.
The current chairperson is from Ogun State.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
and so we are reaching out to them. We are reaching out to them. So that's one of the medium through which we reach out to them.
So let me, as we try to round up now, let me try and understand from you. 1 year, 5 months. What would you say is your greatest frustration as you work to meet the needs of the people at the border communities?
Yes, I would have said funding, but I wouldn't say that is a problem anymore, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has addressed the issue of funding as it has to do with the border communities development area. I would say the greatest challenge is that the project deficits in these border communities are enormous. And they are not what we can solve in 1 year or in 2 years. But gradually we'll prioritize them and solve them over time, you know. And so, yes, we have funding. Yes, we may require more funding. But one of our strategies is also to collaborate with sister agencies so that what we cannot do, we can talk to them to do it for us. For instance, I've mentioned to you about the road leading to Babana in Niger State. We don't have enough funding to do a 54-kilometer road, which wouldn't cost less than 50 billion naira to execute. But we can partner with the Federal Ministry of Works and ensure that that road is done for them. If it is located in the Niger Delta area, we can partner with NDDC to ensure that that road is done for them. If it is located in the Northeast, we can partner with Northeast Development Commission to ensure that that road is done for them. If it is a power requirement that requires over 100 or 200 kilowatts of off-grid, power supply, we can partner with the Rural Electrification Agency to provide that power for that community. That is exactly what we're doing.
Okay. Now, lastly, what is your ultimate vision?
My ultimate vision is to put smiles in the faces of over 26 million Nigerians. That's about 13% of the Nigerian population living in over 3,000 border communities. And I can assure you, under the renewed hope agenda, that will be achieved.
Very steep one, very big one. We'll be looking forward to monitor and see that it's achieved. I'd like to thank you for the time you spent with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
God bless you.
This is where we'll be wrapping up our episode for this week. Thanks for being there. I'd like to have your reactions, your comments, if there are any. Please send them into our social media handles and the email address on the screen. We also have past episodes on our YouTube channel. You can search for Newsnight under playlist, Take Your Pick. Thanks for being there. Till next time, bye.